Hi, and welcome back to another thrilling episode of gardening at my two small plots allotment. I'm Kim Brown, and I'm going to be doing some planting today because everything's got a bit crazy in the allotment and in the greenhouses, and so things that have been potted on already from the cell trays have now grown on a bit, and I'm talking about brassicas mainly, my spring cabbage, my calabrese. I've got two different types of spring cabbage, but they are bursting out of their small 10cm pots now, and so it's time to get them in the ground. We have a few dry days. Today's dry, obviously it's sunny, it's nice and warm. I'm hoping that the slugs feel like they're going to perish as soon as they come out, so they're not going to come out, and at least give the cabbages a little bit of a chance to grow on a few leaves off the ground. And I will be putting some straw down, but I haven't got that with me today. So phase one, plant. Phase two, cover with a net, and I've already built the frameworks around there. And phase three is going hard with the slug protection, so hopefully they'll survive tonight until I can get here over the weekend. So a quick catch up on what's going on. These are what are going out today. I've already taken some and put a few of the calabrese in to the garden, but as you can see, that's like there's some really good sized leaves here, and they're quite tall, so but I will need to plant them quite deep so they're not too leggy. And these are my greyhound. Are these greyhound? No, these are some cauliflowers. Sorry, these are the cauliflowers, and these are the greyhound. Yep. So we've got quite a lot of things to go in. They had a good water yesterday, so let's get them in the ground. So this is plot 2, and I have got two quite big rows. They're about 30 feet long and maybe 5 foot wide. I've just put some hoops, and I've attached some bamboo canes to keep the hoops apart, and I'm just going to put the net over the top. In the center here I have got the calabrese, and either side of that I'm just going to fill this bed, 2 beds of brassicas, and see what happens. Then any casualties that I have, I just will replace with something a bit later on that I've got coming on that will definitely need to go out, so we'll just see how we do. So here we have it. We've got a whole row planted up. Got the calabrese in the middle, and we've got the greyhound or April cabbages at the either side. So we're going to cover this with a net, give it a good water in, maybe a bit of a food, but it's had lots of fresh manure here. Just been using my hole maker to just pop that 10cm pot in there. We've nearly finished the other row. I've got a few more plants growing on, so they look a bit close together in places, but the problem is I will lose a few without sounding too pessimistic. This is slug food, and we'll just see how they get on in the next couple of weeks. And I've got 6 replacements that I can use in the greenhouse, so keep a few if you can, because once they start looking ropey and they can't survive, or the middle gets eaten, the centerpiece gets eaten out in there, then they're not going to make a cabbage, they're not going to make a cauliflower. So here I've placed 2 large nets over the top, and it's just an insect netting to keep the wind off and any butterflies out. My filming is a bit all over the place today, but just a little update on how I've got them under a net, but basically these are the fennel that I planted last week in this kind of big open raised bed. The peas are sort of doing okay now. They've got a bit of slug slime on them, so slugs have been around, but I'm catching tons in my slug traps, but finally they seem to have started to go quite well. And I'm just grateful to have some leaves to pick. You know, there's a mixture of different leaves that's sort of more winter style, but they're growing great now. There's a bit of warmth, and yeah, I pick myself a bag of salad every day if I want to, and so there's plenty, a leaf here, a leaf here, there, and there's plenty. I have been busy already, and I've been picking bags and bags of different salad leaves and a lot of spinach and everything coming this time. So yeah, I mean, there's a bit too much mustard in there for me, but I should be giving that away or trying to find some other way of cooking it, because it's a little bit strong for the salads, but it's a great doer. I mean, it really is. Nothing touches it. Even the slugs don't like it. So yeah, but it's super rich in iron and really good for good addition to your milder salads. Okay, here's another little update. We started making a pathway and I've run out of gravel, but as I suggested I would, in this greenhouse here, I've just planted a few small lettuces and spinach there. Got a few, that's red kitten, a few other spinaches, and they seem to be doing really well in this dappled shade of my greenhouse. Now I have dared to put a few tomatoes and then left them out overnight. These are just the tiny Tim, like the tumbling toms. They go in my hanging baskets, and I've just got half a dozen of those. This basil has all been left out overnight, and that seems to be doing okay. It really needed potting on, so now they've kind of had to stay out. But this last greenhouse in full sun here tends to stay, you know, quite warm. So we'll just see how we get on over the next couple of weeks. It's meant to be cool next week, but after that we're hoping for some warmer weather during the spring. Just a little update on what else has been going on. I had one bag of potatoes and I finished planting them by just putting 2 each in these. I think these are 40-litre pots, but they're quite substantial, so I've got a bit of space to top them up at the top there. But they've had food, chicken manure pellets and things like that. The carrots, 3 beds of carrots, little raised beds. Now excuse the weeds, I'm going to take you in here under the netting, but we have some very small carrot seeds coming up. Are you shivering, Spenny? Are you waiting to go home? Are you? Oh. Just back in the greenhouse for a bit, and it's time to pot on some of these tomatoes because they're looking really quite sturdy. See if I can just pluck this one out. Maybe I can't. I'm going to push them out a little bit first. There we go. Good root structure, really starting to dry out quite quickly now, day by day, so they need to go on, and I'm just going to take them into this size pot so they can go up. Quite a big jump really. That's about 2.5 times what the volume of its original pot is, and so, well, yeah, they smell delicious. These are a mixture of large ones, like Costa Luto and Crimson Crush, so yeah, they're the more sturdy ones, whereas my cherry tomatoes are a little bit more floppy, but they really are ready to go up to the next size, so that then I can think about leaving them out all night. So while I'm here, I thought I'd show you what's been going on in the greenhouse. In the southeast, it has had this windy north wind that's been very cool. And I'm a bit worried about the next few days. Today is the 17th of April. The aubergines have been potted on and they're looking okay, but I do have to take in, I'm carrying 7 trays in, 7 trays out. It's so laborious every day, and I can't really pot on my peppers anymore because I just don't have the space, and it would just make a hell of a lot more work. But they are looking, yeah, pretty good now that they've had some proper daylight. They're not suffering anymore. The tomatoes, if I could just squeeze my foot in there. Tomatoes looking fairly robust. I've got a mixture of large ones and small ones. That's all I can say at the moment because there's so many different varieties. This one's one from my friend, and he actually did stay out all night. He's been out okay, but I've been covering the whole area with bubble wrap. We've got some celeriac on the go. That's pretty much ready to go in. I'll just let it get a little bit better than that. Yeah, coriander and a few more brassicas. I'm just giving them a little bit more protection until I'm ready to put those out. Oh yeah, a bit of dill. The dill's doing really well. Again, that needs to go in, but it was a bit slow to get going. Something's been turfing out my carrots overnight. No, I've had some bubble wrap on top, and it just seems to be burrowing underneath the bubble wrap and into this little carrot tray that I've got going on. More tomatoes, more tomatoes. These are quite tender, so I'm just leaving these in here for now, and I put some wrap over the top. We've been forecast to have 3 and 4 degrees overnight, which could easily turn into a frost towards the end of this week. So I'm just being a bit cautious really, because I've seen how I've put things out too early before and they've just gone backwards. You know, they start to look a bit yellow and a bit like they're curling up, a bit like they're suffering a bit. But you know, especially when you've worked hard to get things really nice. I mean, look at these wonderful leafy like spikes on the leaves. Incredible spikes on the leaves. And this is the lungo. I've only grown the lungo this year. It's like the purple long, so it's long and skinny. In the meantime, I have put a few lettuce in here. Yeah, I had a few spare plants. It's a bit of a shady area. And look at the difference. Look, all of these just went in. These half a dozen went in the same time. And this side does get a bit more sun because of the hedge surrounding us here. But underneath just this little cloche, things are going a little bit, yeah, they need a few leaves picking. But it's really great to just have a few leaves at home that you can just come in and have a little go at. Peppers, chilies, yep, all doing okay. Good morning. Thursday the 18th of April. We had quite a chilly night last night. The greenhouse said 4 degrees, so I was a little bit worried about a couple of the tomato plants that I had left down at the allotment in the greenhouse. So just coming down to check on those at the moment. Now I popped them down on the floor because it seemed like the best place really. The most protected place, because I have got the panelling around the outside, and so they do get sunlight during the day. So apart from maybe some stunted growth, They aren't looking too bad. These are only the tiny ones anyway. Tumbling toms. The basil, well, it hasn't died overnight anyway. I'm sure it's got a little bit of a little bit cold here and there. I mean, there's a couple of leaves that look a little bit damaged there, but I'm not going to bring them back home now. I'm sure after this cold spell it will pick up, but the lettuces and everything are doing okay. They were doing okay. Planted these a couple of weeks ago, and it's just showing that, you know, even with a little bit of dappled sunshine, lettuce can pretty much grow anywhere. And I have just planted these, as you can see, all these little tomato seedlings coming up from my homemade compost, but I've just planted these, the compacted soil that was here already, followed by quite a bit of well rotted farmyard manure in the bag, so it's like dark soil, and topped off with some really quite sticky and chunky homemade compost that just opens up the soil a little bit. But these are, you know, these seem happy as anything. I've had quite a few. I've had 2 pickings off of these so far, so there's some of the leaves getting quite established again now. The other thing I wanted to have a check on is just how these brassicas have done overnight. You know, I've had a net on them, so they've had some protection because it's been windy and cold. I mean, the cold I don't think bothers them too much. We have got Calibris in the middle, so I planted Calibris down through the middle, quite a big space in between those. A bit of leaf damage, you can see a couple of slug holes where they've been close to the ground, but as long as the core, as long as that very centerpiece doesn't get eaten out, they should be okay. I put some slug traps down, just a bit of beer, hoping that they'll drown if they do come in. Got 2 different types of cabbage in here, April and Greyhound, and that's Marathon, I think. Oh no, I had 2 different types of Calibris. One was Marathon and the other one I can't remember. But they look okay. They've actually grown. Yeah, since I put them in on last Friday. So they've been in there 5 days now, and they've actually picked up a little bit. They've perked up a bit. You can see this end, I used a straw. I only had half a bag of straw, but I found that this worked quite well as a bit of slug protection for a while, just because it lifts the leaves up off the ground a bit, and you know, just lifts the canopy up a little bit. So I'm hoping that helps a bit. So what else do you do? There is a little sluggy in there. Yes, one's fallen in. The garlic is looking good. These are my elephant garlic. I've got 1 row of elephant garlic, and that one's looking really quite good. Now, I didn't cover these ones. Didn't have much trouble with the alum leaf miner last year. I know people are talking about it, but this side I haven't covered. Probably will do once I get a few things in here. So I've got to do a bit of weeding. I've got a lot of this bindweed coming through, which I knew was underneath here because this was like a no-dig bed from last year, and this is like a field. This site was like a field when I came here, and so there have been some dock, quite a bit of dock. I can see another one coming through here. So you will get, I mean, there's no way you're going to just cover it with cardboard and a bit of compost and none of the really difficult weeds are going to come back. They will, but you know, overall it was a great easy weed suppressant. Have a look on this one. This is the other border. Yeah, everything's doing okay. This net's not quite so big, but it is thicker, you know. It only just reaches the ground on the other side, so I have to keep adjusting it a bit because the wind has been picking up. I need a few more bricks and stuff to keep it down on the ground, I think. Plenty of growing space. This border's ready to go. There's my bean trellis, but I haven't even started my beans yet. And this, celeriac and lots of stuff, beetroot and squash and lots of things to go in. And I will just do it bit by bit. I've left these field beans and a few potato volunteers. I'm just leaving these, taking the tips out every now and again. I just add them to some soups, but yeah, these did okay. I think they do get a bit damaged in the winter when you really need something. They weren't looking great even under a net, but now the spring has come, they've started to pick up again. But I will be digging these out and replacing them with something in here. The other place where I've got a few tender things is in this polycarbonate greenhouse, which does tend to keep a little bit more temperature. You can see we've got 11 degrees now, 52 Fahrenheit. Yeah. This has been a bit abused in here over winter, just keeping all my brassicas in here. But we've got a few spares to put in, which have just suddenly perked up. They've just gone a bit crazy. We've had some nice sunny mornings though, and tomatoes looking okay. Crimson Crush, Costa Luto, they're the stronger versions really. So, well, they're looking like if they're okay for 4 degrees last night, they should be okay to stay out for a little while now. They've been hardened off for quite a few weeks coming in and out of the greenhouse, and I had to leave them out last night, but they're looking okay. And this pop-up border is literally just like a cold frame with a lid on it, but I put some soil in it, and just to show like how much more things like these kales and lettuces can come on just with a bit of protection this time of year. So yeah, I've had a few pickings off of these, which I like to do. I just like to you know, take a few leaves off of each plant and put it all together, and then I have a big bag full. I've got some pak choi, some kale, some spinach, yeah, and some chard, you know, just bits of chard coming through from last year's crop, but that makes a whole big bag full for me, and I'm very happy to add that to my soups and my noodles and things like that. It's a beautiful morning, even though it was cold last night. This is what you're going to get, lovely clear skies, and looks like the rest of the week is going to be a bit like that in the southeast of the UK anyway. Thanks for watching, and see you again really soon. Enjoy the sun, protect your plants, and let's look forward to some warmer weather.